I'm going to try and use MegaLogViewer to show some events that may help. The key fields here are that I have throttle position sensor. The reference to RPM is handy, but for our demonstration maybe not so relevant. AFR target versus AFR, and whether you choose to use map or vacuum, it's relevant in this demonstration. So as you can see right now, my AFRs are both the target and the actual AFR, they're on point. We move through here, I'm holding the throttle pretty steady, AFRs are good, and at this point I'm getting ready to lift the throttle. This happens to be a manual transmission vehicle. I don't really recall if I was pushing it into neutral, what have you, but just know that now the engine drops out of load. And what you'll start to see is a divergence from the AFR and the AFR target. Suddenly I've got a rich event. I'm at 12.9 versus a target of 14.15. And my manifold vacuum dropped down to in the 20 inches of mercury. So that has an effect of sucking a lot of the excess fuel off of the walls of the manifold and such, because we're starving the engine of airflow. And as a side effect of that, since we now have less air and an abundance of fuel, we get a rich state. Now I'm adding more throttle. The AFRs are trying to normalize, and we see we get a little bit of a lean state, 14.2. Again, it's trying to correct a little bit. It goes rich again. I guess what I'm trying to make sure you realize is that this is not an unusual set of cycles that happens. Again, you can see I'm pretty much on point with my AFR target versus actual AFR once it normalizes. Now I'm standing into the throttle a little bit more. My system wants to go down to a 12.81, I believe it is, and it's at 13.6. It then starts to correct. Notice up above here though, I've lifted the throttle some, so I'm going to now invoke a little bit of an anomaly, which you will see here. And as I hold my throttle, the system again normalizes and stays pretty stable. The next step, you'll see that my engine RPM continues to climb. That's natural because I pushed the clutch in, I've let off the throttle, and now I'm beginning to develop a great deal of vacuum. I'm already rich, a little bit rich, and now my target comes back to 14.5, but I'm at now 12.0, and I'm down all the way to 11.1, excuse me, 11.5. And that again is because I've sucked all the fuel out of the runners and the, basically out of the manifold, but I don't give it any air. So why this to me is important is because we need to make sure that we keep this in mind when we're looking at our logs.